Good afternoon, dear colleagues. My name is Saltanat JANENOVA. I'm representing the Graduate School of Public Policy of Nazarbayev University. My professional interest is on public services, mainly on the one-stop shops and e-government. So today, for the purpose of the conference, I'm presenting the work in progress, my draft paper on the pension reform, and I would like to ask for your feedback and comments, suggestions to improve the methodology and the way of implementing this research. So the topic of my research is collective action in Kazakhstan, the case of 2013 pension law. In spring 2013, as we know, Kazakhstan embarked on a dramatic reform of the pension law, imposing state monopoly on the pension funds and increasing retirement age for women. And the pension reform represents a case of public discontent, public protest, which is comparatively rare in the top-down stable state such as Kazakhstan. So what are my research questions? I'm going to investigate why was the new pension reform implemented in a particular way? Why was the policy being shaped in the way that it has taken form? And what were the reasons for collective action of the citizens against the new pension reform? I have conducted secondary data analysis based on the analysis of legislation, policy reports, mass media, content analysis, and I'm planning to conduct interviews and collect empirical data during this summer, and planning to conduct interviews mainly with experts, economists, sociologists in this area. This new pension reform is the continuation of the earlier reform. So the government of Kazakhstan is reforming, re-reforming, and continuing to modernize its pension system. Here you can see the comparison of the reform of the legislation that has taken place in 1997 and the new reform. So in both cases, the government has suggested that there are socio-demographic and economic reasons for changes, and these changes are necessary for our population. I will explain later what were the reasons for 2013 pension law. The system in the 2013 hasn't been changed, I mean, radically or completely. Pay-as-you-go has saved, so it's still the pension system is based on mandatory contributions of the employees. Main changes took part in terms of if, as a result of the 1997 pension law, competition has been introduced in the pension market. So by 2013, 10, according to some reports, 11 accumulative pension funds have been established. So citizens of Kazakhstan had a choice to go to the pension funds. Since 1997, by 2013, 80% of the economic active population are the participants of the pension system, compared to 20%, which has been before the 1997 pension law. So we can see that although there have been some difficulties, some criticism regarding ineffectiveness of the management of the pension funds, still the pension system has been established. It has been acting quite effectively. But the new pension law in 2013 introduced the major changes in terms of merging all pension funds into one accumulative pension fund. explaining that the National Bank would be more effective in managing these pension funds rather than giving it to the owners of the accumulative pension funds. And the age for women has been increased from 58 to 63. Explaining that there have been very important reasons for this change. So what were the reasons that the government has provided to the population that new pension reform was necessary to adopt? The population of Kazakhstan is relatively young. So now we have around 7% of senior citizens. But according to estimation of the United Nations, by 2015, the number of elderly population will exceed 25%, which will bring severe financial burden on the national budget. In order to pay current pensions, the government explained that we need to use the funds of the national fund, and we can risk to run out of these funds. So it was necessary to increase the age of the women. Also, one of the official reasons that was brought up that because of the gender gap in terms of salaries between males and females, in order to improve pension for females, we need to provide them longer working period. So they work longer, they earn more money for their future pensions. These reasons of the government of Kazakhstan have been communicated only after the pension law has received strong protest from the public. As I told before, this has been a very rare case that female NGOs has been shown as a strong, powerful group in terms of protecting their rights. Demonstrations have been organized by different gender NGOs across main cities in different regions of Kazakhstan. The petition was signed not only by ordinary citizens, but by activists, by prominent representatives of business culture. And this petition was addressed to the president to stop this reform and signed by over 80,000 signatures. The reputation of the labor minister was undermined, and the previous speaker, Gulshat, has already explained to you that following ineffective policy of communicating to the public on the reasons for new pension reform, his reputation was destroyed. And you can see on the photos some of the events that were happening at that time, demonstrations, eggs throwing at our ex-minister, and some of the appeals to go for demonstrations. I'm looking at the pension law implementation from a public policy perspective. So it is important for me to understand how the policy was designed and implemented. So let's look at the timing of the implementation process. In September 2012, the ex-minister, at that time Minister of Labor, Mr. Abdenov, announced officially that there is no need to raise retirement age. And less than half a year, in January 2013, our president has announced at an enlarged meeting of the government that we need to introduce changes in the pension system by merging all pension funds. There was no mentioning of the raising retirement age at that point. Suddenly, in April 2013, the new draft legislation on the pension reform has been announced. There have been few trips organized by the Ministry of Labor to the regions, trying to explain to the people, but it was too late, because the draft law has been announced without prior consultation with stakeholders, with explanation and communicating the reasons and engaging the citizens, including strong female NGOs, into negotiation process. Strong public protest was expressed during spring 2013, and as you can see on the picture, the draft legislation was back and forth from the parliament to the president, then back for further changes and improvements, which resulted in the serious criticism by the president towards the National Bank and the Labor Ministry for the ineffective implementation of the pension law. The Labor Minister was dismissed, and the law, in terms of increasing retirement age, was postponed with the gradual increase of retirement age by 6 months. So the new pension system in Kazakhstan has affected not only the social security system. These protests, this very hot emotional debate on the public scene around increasing retirement age for women has taken our interest away from a very important change that was happening regarding the merging of the pension funds, which is not the topic of the interest of this paper, but it's a topic for potential research. The new pension system has affected the market system because it's no longer a competitive pension system. The investment interests and the reputation of the country, which aims to enter the top 50 countries in the world. As the previous speaker Gulshat has noted, and I would like also to emphasize this, there was a lack of public consultation and engagement of the stakeholders in the negotiation process. No stakeholder analysis, no forecast planning was conducted, which shows that the government needs to improve their skills and competences in terms of communicating and engaging civil society. This case has shown that the role of female NGOs should not be underestimated. They have shown that this is a strong, powerful group, and their views should be taken into account, that the government didn't take into account when they drafted the law. And what is important to emphasize that the role of the social media has played an important role, because collective action has been mobilized through Facebook, through internet, and the role of the social media in mobilizing collective action in Kazakhstan is increasing rapidly, and we can see it in the recent cases, I mean, not related to the pension reform, but so the role of the social media, especially internet sources, are used by civil society as a mechanism to attract government and to make the government accountable, to push them to respond to their interests. There are some questions that are not covered by this paper, but can be potential area for research. The strong, powerful group who are the owners of the pension accumulation funds have not expressed protest publicly. There were no demonstration, no petition signed. So why they have kept silent? Why they haven't protests from nationalization, from the state monopoly of the pension funds? Because the funds have been taken, and these are investment interests, these are fortunes of thousands of employees who have been working in these pension funds, this is still a question for future research. And as a final remark, what lesson can we learn from this case is, and this is important lesson not only for Kazakhstan but also from other transitional countries, especially from Central Asia region, is that it is necessary and important to involve civil society, stakeholders into consultation process at the stage of the policy design, policy formulation, policy implementation, and policy evaluation. Thank you.